Hey everyone, Book Babe back again. I know it's been a really long time since I posted a review, and I've been putting it off for months now, so I finally decided to just sit down and do it. So without further ado, here we go. The book that I read was called Where'd You Go, Bernadette by Maria Semple, and it was given to me by a customer of mine at work. It's about 8.5 years old or so at this point, but I've been meaning to read it for quite a while because I've heard lots of good things about it, and it had great reviews when it first came out and was turned into a movie. So I went into it with pretty high expectations, which of course is always a recipe for a disaster because I inevitably end up disappointed. But I'll get into that a little bit later. First, I'm going to just give a basic overview of the book itself. The book focuses on the main character, Bernadette, and her disappearance. And I'm not giving anything away by mentioning her disappearance because it literally talks about it on the very first page of the book. It then goes into the events leading up to her disappearance as well as what happens afterwards. I'm going to talk about a few of the things that I liked about the book, and then I'm going to go into some of the things that I didn't like about the book. So, firstly, the author, Maria Semple, is from Seattle, which is where the book takes place. And a lot of the places and the things that were mentioned in the book I am familiar with due to my sister living in Seattle and me going out there to visit her a few separate times. So it gave me a bit of a personal connection to what she was talking about that I really appreciated. The novel is actually Bee's book, and Bee is Bernadette's daughter, and she writes it and submits it for her school spring research project based on the information that she's accumulated regarding the occurrences both prior to and after her mother's disappearance. It's mostly written in the form of communications, such as emails and memos. And I know some people don't necessarily like that style of writing, but I actually didn't mind it, and I thought that it helped break the book up into these little bite sized pieces that made it really quick and easy to read. And along those lines, I thought it was a really fast book. I didn't want to put it down. And I did genuinely want to see how it was going to end and what happened to Bernadette. I also thought that it was good that the author talked about artists having a need for a creative outlet and using their art as a way to express their feelings and their emotions. Although I didn't necessarily like that she portrayed true artists as all being unhinged lunatics, because I think that that casts a negative light on artists. I did think that there were some noticeable red flags early on that foreshadowed later events to come in the book. And I don't generally like to be able to predict what's going to happen. I like to sort of be surprised and not see things coming and discover as I go along all the twists and turns. My biggest issue with the book, though, was that it was supposed to be a realistic book. It wasn't meant to be a fantasy book by any means. And don't get me wrong, I'm right up there with the best of them at being able to suspend my disbelief and let my imagination run wild. But this was meant to be a realistic book, and I just found a lot of things in it highly improbable and bordering on ridiculous just because she had established certain character, behavior, and patterns. And then I felt that she contradicted a lot of that as the book went on, especially with Audrey and Bernadette herself and Elgin. Um, and a lot of the behaviors of the characters just seemed out of character with the established patterns from the beginning, and the events, including the inconclusive ending, I also felt weren't very realistic. So overall, I would probably give it 3 stars just because it was actually a decently written book. She is a good writer. I just didn't really enjoy it. But that being said, I know a lot of people really loved this book, and so I'm curious as to the reasons behind their enjoyment of it. So, using that as a segue, any comments or questions or things you want to discuss about this book, or anything you want to share about what you liked about it, I'd be interested to hear what you have to say. Also, any advice for what you might like to see in my future reviews or any book recommendations you have for me, I'm all ears. Till next time.